So we don't know. And what Ben's offense is going to do is Ben's going to get this ball into people's hands quickly. And he's got, I mean, that's what the Luther Burden pick is to me. Like, he sees what he wants this offense to look like. So all we've got to see now from Caleb is now you're going to have a real offense and you're going to be coached hard. So now you're going to see, how does this kid react to being put in a scenario where there is a real structure? You are going to be expected to play within that structure. And if you don't play within that structure, your life's not going to be very easy in that building week to week. I'd like to see how he does, how he responds. Everything I've heard about him personally is that he's an amazing dude, right? Nobody in that building has a bad word to say about him. And everybody thinks this is about to be the marriage we've been waiting for in Chicago for a long time. So we'll see. But I would say the reservations I have, I just want to see it. The reservations the guys in the league have are the mess that they were looking at last year on tape. They don't know how to reconcile it. Like, they don't know how to say, that was Caleb's fault. This isn't Caleb's fault. They don't know, because when you're looking at tape and your scouts are laughing, it's very hard to take what you're seeing seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, I know you have some reservations, and everyone should. I mean, with any rookie quarterback, right? You look at CJ Stroud, had a great year last year. This past year, not so great. Yeah. So obviously we need more data points and all of that. But how optimistic are you that this marriage will work? And is it the most optimistic you've been with a quarterback going into year 2 for the Bears in your past 20 years?
Going into year 2, absolutely. I was in the building for the Cody Parkey game, and I walked out of that building thinking the way Mitch played on that final drive and the way he led the team down the field, I really believed he had taken a step that in those moments that we were going to see translate in 19. And that was the team I probably picked to go the furthest. I thought that was a Super Bowl team in 19. Right. I remember the week. It was against New Orleans. What was that, 5-6 weeks into the season, when I saw him just collapse. And I said, I just knew that wasn't the guy. And people were yelling at me for weeks after. I'm like, no, guys, sometimes you just see that game when you go, okay, that's just not him. Listen, there were throws last year I saw him make. There were plays I seen him make with his legs. The things that he might not have done well last year, I think, are excusable for a rookie. Also, like, we've gotten to this place now with analyzing these guys where it's all like, we're doing statistical analysis in their rookie years. And I try to tell the younger guys, and you guys are younger than me, but I try to tell the younger guys, go back and study Troy Aikman. Go back even further and study Eric Bradshaw, who was benched like 3 times his rookie year. Go back and study how these quarterbacks used to be handled, because what coaches used to do is throw them out there and pull them right off the field and say, no, now watch for 2 games. And I think Caleb absolutely should have been starting last year. They should have been a better offensive team. But I think they knew very early on in that process last year that this was not working. And this was not going to get the best out of him. And the mistake they made last year, and I will argue this till the cows come home, the mistake they made was promoting Thomas Brown out of that offensive coordinator role after putting him in that role, because any sustained success that we started to see was completely abolished. The second he left that, when I was arguing that, people were saying I was crazy. I said, if your development of Caleb is the thing, keep him in that role and just let them keep growing the thing. As soon as Thomas Brown moved to head coach, the offense fell apart. It's not surprising. The same thing happened with the Jets last year. They fire Robert Saleh. The defense suddenly couldn't play anymore, and the Jets faded away. Yeah, turns out you keep your coaches in the same place the entire season. But this is the thing. I am very optimistic. But the reason I'm optimistic is I just think his pedigree and the things I actually saw from him as a quarterback, the throws down the sideline, the way he moves in the pocket, I don't think he's ever going to be Troy Aikman or Peyton Manning. I don't think he's ever going to be three-step drop, look, and fire. He's going to make plays with his legs. He's going to use those intangibles. And listen, and I'm not somebody who goes wholehearted after a new coach. Even with Ben Johnson in the fall, I was like, we got to stop canonizing this guy. Like, let's see him head coach first. But man, the word out of House Hall is the guy's taking over the organization. And I've never heard that before about a head coach. You know, Matt Nagy didn't come in and take over the organization. Matt Eberflus certainly didn't. That's Ben Johnson's building right now, more than anybody else's. That is Ben Johnson's building. And that, I think, if you're a Bears fan, that is a good thing to hear.
That's what you want. We need a leader to come in there and clean up the mess. So he came in there and left his mark. And we saw that all the way from free agency with him attacking. Let's be real, right? Ryan Poles didn't address offensive line like he should have in the 2 years prior. In comes Ben Johnson, who's known for offenses that have good offensive lines, and boom, addresses offensive line immediately. And then you look at how we addressed our first three picks, I should say, or first 3 out of 4 being on offense in the draft. And you saw that was Ben Johnson written all over it. And then you see how he addresses himself at the podium as well. And you're just like, okay, no, I think we have someone that's like really coming in here and saying, no, I'm going to right this ship. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Dave.
The first time I can remember, I don't know how far we'd have to go back, where a head coach was hired by this team and seemingly took to the top of the hierarchy from the jump. I don't know how far back we'd have to go. We'd have to go back a long way. I mean, Lovey was never ahead of Jerry Angelo in that hierarchy. Never. I mean, Jerry Angelo was the top of football operations, and I think an underrated one. But I think you have to go back quite a ways to find someone who was the top of the hierarchy, and that's what Ben is right now. And part of that is, as I told those Irish Bears boys back in November when they asked me who's going to be the coach, I said, everybody in the league is telling me about this love affair between Poles and Ben Johnson. Like everyone was, and then Breer comes out a couple days later and says, listen, Ben Johnson wanted the Bears job. The stones were laid. This is the job Ben Johnson wanted a year ago. And Ben Johnson's got the job now, and Ben Johnson doesn't want another job. So if you're a guy like that, and if you're an alpha, if you're a Jim Harbaugh or a Bill Parcells or even now a John Harbaugh, and if you're one of these guys who wants to cook with their own groceries, and that's what Ben Johnson is, and he's got the spot now. And I think it's far more likely that the Bears would have a new general manager in the next 3 years than a new head coach.
Interesting. My question for you is with Ryan Poles, because he loves Ben, how is that? I guess that dynamic works pretty well with Poles. If Ben Johnson is kind of calling these shots, how is that dynamic? How is the dynamic in House Hall where he's the GM? Is it still pretty good? Like, seems like they're communicating very well. He's okay with that.
Yeah, I've heard it's great. So what I've heard is Poles and Ben are great. There's another guy in the room often where it's less great. I don't want to go down Kevin Warren Boulevard anymore. Yeah. Get the stadium fucking built and get out of the way. That's the way I feel. Wherever you can build the damn thing in Jersey at this point. Just build the damn thing. Pick a spot. Yeah. Because once you decide in Illinois to build a stadium, you got 2 years of bureaucratic shit to sort out then.
Yeah.
I've heard it's great. What I've been told about Ryan Poles is that he has been very much humbled by these last couple of years. And I do believe now there's the contentious argument that I've heard people say is Poles wanted Eberflus fired. George came in and said no. I do not believe that is the case. I do believe Kevin Warren wanted Eberflus fired and wanted to restart the clock. But I'm telling you, Poles and Eberflus were close. I mean, they got very close personally. And I think Eberflus was still making arguments last year that he could run the program. I don't know why the Eberflus program fell apart to the extent that it did early in this season. He didn't have these locker room problems a year earlier. But this year, and I'm talking in the summer, word was starting to trickle out that this thing was falling apart. And again, I tend to be at these horrific games. I was in D.C. last year for the Hail Maryland. And
bless your soul.
Also, my back was out, so I had to limp back to the fucking subway. That's a long one. And I was in that building, and I remember having arguments with people on the train saying that this won't derail the whole season. Well, it fucking derailed the whole season. I mean, yeah. As soon as the pictures came out of the corner basically waving at the crowd as the ball's in the air, I said, well, that's not going to go well. And it felt like that kind of a moment where Eberflus, I think, must have realized in that moment it was kind of over. Like, if these kinds of things are happening to your program, I'm shocked Eberflus got another job, by the way. I mean, from what we've been told, to be hired as a DC as quickly as he was, very surprising to me. But, yeah, I think Poles feels steady right now. But for Poles, there's no more excuses for him, right? If he can't win with he's gutted the thing, he's rebuilt the thing, he's got the coach, he's got the quarterback. If this doesn't work, that's it for him. I mean, he won't get another crack at this. He has not been good enough to get a second crack at this. So, but from what I've been told, he's very. They all love what they're seeing right now. But I've heard that before. right? I've heard that.
We all have, yeah.
I've heard that many times.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over again.
You talked briefly about the stadium, and we don't talk about the stadium too often. It's very little. I really want to ask you, you have to choose, putting all your money. Where's this stadium being built? Is it Arlington?
I think it's going. I mean, I know that Ted will kill me if he finds out I said this stuff. The deal was done in Arlington when Ted was the president. It was done.
Yeah.
All Kevin had to do was come in and just not fuck it up, and he fucked it up. And then he starts flirting with the city. Now, right, to build what they're trying to build on the lakefront is it's not even. I am a Chicago Bears tourist. I come into Chicago. I stay at a hotel. I go to fucking Malnati's and the Billy Goat and to Rossi's and my 7 bars that I love, and then I walk to the building and I love it. I'm not going to argue about traffic patterns. Listen, there's suburban stadiums all around where I live too. They're nightmares. Traffic's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. They're not going to miraculously get rid of traffic in Arlington Heights. But to build what they want to build on the lakefront is so expensive. Like, I don't think people realize how much things cost to build in cities, and the red tape to get through. We're talking about $2.5 billion to build that ballpark on it. So to get that done, to me, always seemed far-fetched. I think they'll end up in Arlington Heights. Now, I don't think they're going to end up there for a while, though, because I just don't. They don't need to break from when they break ground to when they open is what, 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah. I think Kevin said dirt and ground is 2 years, at least. So
until that gets sorted and gets, I do think they'll end up in Arlington, because what I'll tell you about the league is they are on the Bears. So this is some inside baseball fun stuff. The Commanders did not sell for anywhere near the amount of money the league hoped they would sell for. And one of the reasons that the league is on the Jets to try to get out of the MetLife, which is the most horrific building ever constructed in the world history, is because they are starting to believe that 2 things are keeping franchise values from going up. The Jets and Giants sharing a building and not having real estate to escalate their prices, and the Bears not owning their building.